Donald Trump's planned assassination has been recently thrashing itself throughout the media, friends. But to the untrained eye, you will think, oh, it's just one of those happenings out there in the world. That's where we come in, friends. Today, we're going to speak more about the deep state, so deep. Look, friends, I'm wearing a helicopter hat, okay? There's 4 primary colors. You understand? It's not about Team Red or Team Blue. It's insiders and outsiders. That's it. Are you an insider? No, you're not. If you're an insider, okay, you wouldn't even be watching this video. We're outsiders. You and I are outsiders. So, friends, there are a lot of these mysterious coincidences that came when it comes to Donald Trump's planned assassination, all right? A lot of these. And there's too many things. When you line them all up, it makes no sense. Like, for example, I'm going to use this example, right? If Lionel Messi scored 5 own goals against his own team in a World Cup, you would think, wait a minute, he's getting paid somewhere. But what if you never found the financial trail? Everyone's like, look, he could have just been having an off day. Come on, bro. He's never hit an own goal in his life. Now, 5 times in the same match. That's exactly what's happening with the soy service, friends. Now, we're going to go through George Gammon's interview with this guy, this gentleman, Robert Barnes. By the way, this interview is so awesome. I followed him on Twitter. Okay, he's a lawyer, dude. We're going to go through some stuff, man. When you start lining these up, it's going to be wacky, okay? So, let's begin.
What are your thoughts?
Well, the timing was interesting because I was also at the Republican National Convention this week.
Yeah.
And there were people at that convention who I think would not have been there but for their belief that something was going to happen to Trump before he got there. That, Mitch McConnell and some other folks were there. I mean, Mike Pompeo, former head of the CIA, former State Department director, was telling delegates of Iowa, that were coming in to the event that he was going to be the vice presidential nominee. He was never on Trump's list, but he would have been on other people's list. I think the plan was to assassinate him right before the convention, blame it on Iran, use that as a rallying cry to go to war with Iran, and for the Republican Party to nominate Nikki Haley as president and Mike Pompeo as vice president, the 2 biggest sort of neocon deep state allies that were ever part of the Trump administration, in the name of defending the life and legacy of Trump.
So, friends, just quickly throw in there. So, I love all my brothers and sisters out there, aunties, uncles, grandmas, grandpas. Everybody's welcome. Just to let you know, there's not Team Red and Team Blue, okay? There are deep state people on the Republican Party and in the Democrat Party. There's just one key difference, though, okay? Deep state, they got them everywhere, okay? The difference is, though, in the Republican Party today, okay, there are these elements of free liberty and let's shake things up. And we're a bull in a china shop, which is Donald Trump. Okay, that element does exist there. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to take over per se in terms of reform everything. It doesn't mean that. We don't know. Deep state, friends, all powerful. There's non-human intelligence, all these other influences going on in the background, all right? But I'm just here just to give you an idea of what's actually going on, okay? It doesn't mean, okay, we are the right one. It's just kind of like, well, you put me back against the wall. I have to choose with one. Like, best example, right? There's 2. You have to play Russian roulette, and there's 2 guns. One of the guns, all 6 bullets are loaded in the chamber. One of the guns. But the other gun, okay, 3 out of 6 bullets are loaded. You're like, okay, well, I don't want to play the game anyway, but if I have to choose, it's the one with 3 or 6 bullets, okay? So let's continue.
Nominating someone who is anti-Trump fundamentally, but would help promote the war. It would give Joe Biden an excuse for people to stop talking about how old he is and go. And I think they wanted to go to war with Iran. They thought Iran would step into Israel after October 7th. Iran didn't take the bait. And I think they needed something to accelerate that. They also know they're going to lose in Ukraine, so they need a new war to draw attention, and they need something to feed the military-industrial complex, all those weapons contracts and the like. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the timing was right before the convention. In addition, I think they had got word that Trump was not going to pick the vice president that they wanted him to pick, that the sort of deep state crowd wanted Trump to pick someone that would provide insurance for the deep state, that they could take Trump out at any time and know that the vice president was their ally. And that's who Tim Scott is. That's who Marco Rubio is. That's who Doug Burgum is. And Trump let them think that he might pick them, but it had been clear for about 3 weeks that J.D. Vance was in the lead. J.D. Vance is much more populist. He was anti the Ukraine war. He fought with the Marines in Iraq and felt he got lied to. I remember talking to him for about an hour and a half before he made the decision to come out against the Ukraine war back in March of 2022. And so I saw Karl Rove, whose hands were shaking with rage when he got the news that J.D. Vance was going to be the pick. So I think the goal on both sides of the deep state, the Republican and Democratic side, was to take Trump out before he could be officially the nominee, before J.D. Vance could be his official successor and vice presidential pick. And there's plenty of evidence that we have that either you have, one of the key things I always talk about in looking at whether something is a false flag. So like sometimes people misunderstand false flag to mean an event did not occur. A false flag is literally the old pirates would, post a false flag to be able to get real close to the ship they were going to raid, wait till they get right next to the ship, and then they bring up the old Jolly Roger. And surprise, surprise, we're not the British or the French or the Spanish or whoever you thought we were. So the culprit is not always correctly identified. And that doesn't always require that the culprit they blame not also be a culprit. It just means the narrative of the lone assassin, because America's unique in this respect. We're the only country that always seems to only have a lone assassin. Look at all the other people that get shot around the world, or at some attempted assassination. More often than not, there's some sort of conspiracy afoot, according to the official narrative. But in the United States, it's always just some lone nut job that try to do something, so that they don't have to have meaningful complicity and culpability. But the way in which it happened, the evidence that's already developing, Chris Martinson's doing some great audio analysis work on this as we speak, strongly suggests that there were multiple shooters, that the key shots didn't come from the supposed assassin. At a minimum, you have massive security lapses. I would say that's a sign of a red flag of a staged event. A red flag of a false flag is unusual and unexpected security lapses. That suggests somebody on the inside is making sure certain events can occur. But it looks to me that there were probably multiple shooters, and they thought, and in fact, the shots were excellent shots from a sniper's perspective. But Trump just happened to turn his head at exactly the right time. I mean, within a millisecond. If he turns his head in any other different direction, he's dead. And but when he stood up and said, "Fight, fight, fight," I think that was Trump's way of signaling to everybody he knew who and what was behind the assassination attempt. And since then, he's talking to Robert Kennedy about incorporating Kennedy's vaccine policy, and that gets conveniently leaked to the public. He's talking to Robert Kennedy about what happened and how Joe Biden had some unusual questions afterwards. Like, why did you turn your head, Don? Almost like someone complaining about why isn't he dead? He picks J.D. Vance. He accelerates his nomination to Monday afternoon rather than Thursday afternoon. So I think Trump, and I've talked to Don Jr. and some other people, I think they understand who it is that wants Trump out of the way. And I think their failure to get him is going to backfire on them in public policy in a whole bunch of ways. But I have zero doubts that it was at some level an inside job.
So friends, you see that, right? Now, trust me, this thing, you got to watch all of it. Well, we're actually going to go through more clips of it, friends, because it actually gives you goosebumps just going through these. Now, you got to wrestle this part with like, okay, where does this fit in with crypto? How does it fit in? Well, it's the same thing, man. It's the government. It's the money printer. It all fits into crypto, friends. I want you to understand. Once you understand this is happening in the background, you will be more turbo bullish on crypto. And I'm not even exaggerating, all right? You will be more turbo bullish. Because right now, you're looking at this total crypto market cap. Okay, we're at 2.4 trillion. A lot of people say to me, hey, how do we get to 10? How do we get to 10? How do we get to 10 trillion? How do we get to 15 trillion? Look, friends, a lot of people, they want to be brainwashed by the television. It's okay, man. I know it's a nice, cushy life. You know, you swallow the blue pill. It's all right. You know, you go to your cute little birthday events. You get your picnic blanket. You know, I get it. It's a nice, cushy life. But sometimes they play you for a fool. They just throw too many things at you. You're like, nah, I'm not buying that one. Now, here's the thing, friends. If you are well off in life, you don't need to learn about this. I guarantee you, 98% of you are trying to climb a ladder. And if you're trying to climb a ladder, you got to understand the ladder you're climbing. If you are in the traditional fiat system, you're climbing a ladder, you're never going to get to the top. Good luck. Good luck. That's why I'm telling you, this is what's happening. Everyone always used to ask me, how do you know they're moving money around When, like, the government numbers don't say this. You just conspiracy stuff. They always say that. And I'm like, dude, I don't have the database. I'm not in the government themselves. I'll tell you right now, it's not on a blockchain. I can't see it. They can be doing anything. And I'm telling you now, this is how they do it. They're moving and printing money, and it circulates around the world. Wars are the greatest tornado cash for the world currency. It is their tornado cash. $100 billion goes in. No one knows where it goes. It goes into some tanks. Some money gets dispersed. You probably, obviously, if you just stop there, they're like, who cares, man? You're just moving tanks. We don't need to move stuff like that, like planes. No, man. It's because, man, that's why once you keep going on this journey, it always leads back to advanced military tech, UFO tech. Always. It always leads down that path. It's the only thing left. It's like, okay, the only reason why, you have to think about it yourself. Why would you go and do any of these? Why? You think, well, it has to be. It's only. Why would you go and blow up everybody and do all these? It's because you need to keep a bid on your US currency. You got to keep a bid on the dollar. Why do you got to keep a bid on the dollar? Because you got to force people to use the oil. Okay, but you also, at the same time, need to make sure you are decades ahead of everybody else in the world in your military technology, in your anti-gravity technology, right? I don't think, obviously, they say a lot of the ships might be, the US has been able to reverse engineer some stuff, okay? So that's what it all comes down to. It just, how else do you pay? You have to be able to pay all these scientists who are in different compartments. You have to pay for a lot of these things, these black project stuff. And there is money, 100% confirmed. It's not even like guessing. There is money that goes missing. Do you remember Donald Rumsfeld, friends? He said like, oh, we got a couple of trillion missing. A couple of trillion missing back in like 2003, friends. That's, you know what I mean? Like, they play everyone for a fool. Now, we're going to go through more with these, but it all moves down to the money printer. I just want you to know. So ultimately, at the end of the day, it comes down to money printer. Why? Because the money printer is how, see, everything's a network, yeah? US country, you're a network. But that network of everybody working, there's two ways to pay for stuff, right? They could just go tax everyone and go, hey, we want to tax everybody an extra 2 cents for every dollar because we want to do some secret stuff. Who's going to vote for that? You're not going to vote for that. We're like, what secret stuff? Tell us a secret. Like, we can't tell you because we can't tell you for unknown reasons. Like, what do you mean, bro? This sounds like you're trying to scam us. But the real reason obviously is like, we can't tell you we're building UFO tech because you're not even allowed to know that UFOs exist. Because if we tell you, then all our freaking enemies and rivals against the world, they're going to advance us. We're going to lose our dominance. So it's basically like a tragedy it's like basically a paradox. We can't tell you what it is. So what I have to do, I have to find ways to steal money from the system to do that. Not even find ways, okay? They're always going to do this, friends. It's all a hunt for more power and wealth. Okay, now, it gets even more interesting later on when we start stacking up all these planned assassination stuff because Donald Trump, friends, he wants to pull the troops out of Ukraine. He wants to, like, remove the tornado cash part. Okay, so, okay, kid. That's what they're like. Okay, that's number one. Number two, it doesn't like CBDCs, digital dollar. Friends, you go, this guy's going to even talk about, you go against the Federal Reserve. Friends, I'm telling you now, you go against the Federal Reserve, your survival rate drops to literally, I'm not joking, like 15%. Okay, it's funny. It's always the Federal Reserve critic. It's always the person who's critiquing the money printer and this world domination stuff. It's always that person. It's never a lunatic psycho who goes and shoots a Federal Reserve person. Isn't it interesting, right? How come? You'll see.
Okay, so man, that incredible. I had never heard these insights. I'd never heard you speak on it since Saturday.
So yes, George Gammon is like wrestling through these. He's watching it for the first time, and now we'll continue the next part.
As an example, it would be like Michael Jordan missing 10 layups in a row. Can you if he misses 2 layups in a row, then fine, you can just blame that on temporary incompetence, if you want to call it that, and then he's going to go on and score 40 points. But if Michael Jordan in his prime heyday misses 10 layups in a row, you can't attribute that to incompetence. Now all of a sudden you got to step back and ask, is he trying to throw the game? And I think that's part of what you're saying. Am I correct?
Absolutely. And because they had to have an extraordinary sequence of events occur for incompetence to be the explanation. And for example, Trump has a usual Secret Service team. many members of that usual Secret Service team were given that day off.
Oh, you're kidding me.
No, I'm not.
Wow.
The second part is the local region had some high quality Secret Service agents they could sub in, but they were reassigned to Jill Biden, who decided to have a fundraiser the same day in the same region that Trump was having his event and his rally. You have the third aspect is that they had actually staked out that precise location. They knew that that location was, even an amateur could get off a high quality shot from that location. There had been snipers from the Secret Service on top of that particular roof. And then they ended up, for reasons they're yet to explain, decided not to secure the roof.
Because the roof was too steep. Robert, didn't hear her say that? It's too steep.
Yeah, it's just funny, right? So we heard it, friends. Like, when I heard that, I was like, no way. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Donald Trump's soy servicemen, the Secret Soy Service, they drink soy drink. They obviously drink soy in the shadows, the shadow realms. They were meant to be protecting me on that day, and his main ones, his favorite teams, were given the day off. And then the replacements from the state went to Jill Biden fundraiser. It's such an amazing coincidence. Oh my gosh. You know what I mean? Just wow, friends. I mean, like, just what an amazing dice throw. Like, wow, you rolled. Friends, if someone rolls a 6 on a die, okay, you're like, yeah, okay, I'm unlucky. But if they roll a 6 15 times in a row, you got to think, let me see that die. You know what I mean? You have to ask, man.
The roof. We don't want to. It's too dangerous. Come on.
Exactly. Well, precise. It's when you're getting implausible explanations like that.
Yeah.
It's like all the implausibilities keep adding up. Implausible that this happened to be the time that they laid somebody off, or didn't have somebody's part of the team. Happen to be the time where Joe Biden had an event that distracted a bunch of Secret Service agents and took them off the duty call as well. Happened to be the time when they decided not to secure a building that's uniquely high risk, when they were actually on top of the building staging what that would look like the day before, and then coming up with the excuse of the sloped roof that everybody knows is not plausible because
when they had the sniper on, the counter sniper was on a sloped roof.
Exactly, the White House.
Friends as well. You know, when you first start hearing these things, the first thing you think about, I know it's very tempting. You say, because what I thought, I go, wait a minute, people can't keep secrets. People know they can't keep secrets. How you're telling me? That's why, because people don't understand how this stuff works. I know they get it, friends. It's literally like in crypto. Everyone's like, you're telling me this number will just keep going up. If you've never heard about the money printing scam and how fiat works, yes, it's very tough for your brain to be able to work out why these things just keep going up. You don't understand how. You don't know that they keep printing money. It goes around the world. It lands in different liquidity buckets. The central bank balance sheet expands, goes to the euro dollar, then goes to the collateral. The collateral gets bigger. They borrow more money. It goes to the big stock markets, medium cap, small cap, which is Mr. Russell 2000. Then you go into the crypto buckets, and they're moving on over time. Okay, so I just went through that whole flow chart. I know it off by heart. Now, if you don't know anything about like fiat printing, you have no idea. Like, how the hell does it just go up? I've got no idea. Okay, I'm just telling you now. These coordinated big things, they are not like a movie of, like Dr. Evil, where there's like, hey, let's draw this roadmap of like, okay, step 1, we're gonna do this. Step 2, we're gonna go kill him, and they're gonna do that. No, it doesn't work like that, friends. They are in compartments. Okay, people are given instructions. They are not told why they have to do it. If you ask why you have to do it, you are either fired, you get demoted, or you just got told to shut up. You do your job. Friends, the Kia, the Coconut Intelligence Agency, these government agents, they hire people who are easily agreeable. It's part of the personality trait. Okay? So they hire people who are more inclined. And by the way, the culture in there is just, okay, I'll just follow instructions. You are someone who follows instructions. You're a good soldier, right? You love America. You're a patriot, right? They do that, okay? Bit of brainwashing, bit of like marketing, bit of how they just talk to people. Now, something as well, it's very hard for people to get over the line where they're like, I just can't see how so many people are in on it. No, it's not that so many people are in on it, friends. There have been many, many cases. For example, when the 2 Jenga towers fell, okay, the Jenga towers, in 2001, There are people, by the way, they replied. Some of you guys replied in my comment section as well. And you go read up all these accounts. There were people who were working in the military that day. And there's one guy, they do a test flight every single day. It's part of the test flight. Every single day, they're doing test flights. Okay. And on the September 11th day, they were told in the morning, no test flight today. We're not doing anything. It was either that day or the day before. So immediately, just as the day happens, no test flight today. And I remember it was either one of you guys in the comment section or wherever I read it. They said, yeah, them and their two friends, they were like, oh, they were celebrating. Like, sweet, we got the day off. Cool. And then they never thought about it until years later. Now they're looking back, 10 years later, 20 years later. Like, wait a minute. They gave us a day off. We never get a day off. We've been doing test flights every day for how many years? And this is the thing, okay? You're thinking, okay, but these are test flights in other states. Okay, it's literally the military, a lot of the wing arm was told to stand down. And I remember someone asked one of the generals. They was like, hey, how come we got the day off? To be like, just shut up. Don't ask questions, whatever. I was just told from higher up. So the chain of command line just goes down. You see, friends. Also, the Kia, the Coconut Intelligence Agency, they are, friends. It's America, man. Like they got the number one dudes in the world. All right, they literally figuring out humans and psychology. Okay, what makes people tick? Who follows instructions? They're figuring out always people, how to hire people. All these people who are like, okay, this person, they don't let themselves be too alarming and stuff, or when they say stuff. And okay, big end. There's the whole part of. Remember that guy who tried to leak stuff once? They were tracking his phone and things. Friends, and then they disappear. They get demoted. So that happens too. There are stories, friends, of there was one guy. This is amazing, right? One of an army. I think it was some guy in the army in America. He told this story where. He was just walking with his troops somewhere. Like I think they were in like the training area, whatever it is, the barracks, whatever they're called. And they got pulled aside by basically his like instructor. And it was him and it was like, I think like 8 dudes. And they got ushered into a tent. Now they got ushered into a tent. This was like decades ago. And in the tent, friends, they had to watch a movie. And the instructor said to him, sit down, just watch the movie. They watched the movie, friends. Do you want to know what was on the movie? They were showing them UFO alien stuff. But there was just like clips, like UFO ship, alien, body dissecting, like one of those black and white clips of like a surgeon opening up an alien body, like UFO things moving around, zoom up on stuff, like anti-gravity. I don't know, like just UFO things going on, aliens and stuff, right? Now, he described it as, it was like old film, and it did not look like any CGI or anything, right? He didn't know what the hell the thing was. He's like, they'd never seen anything like it. Now, here's the thing. This guy, he ended up saying that out of 8 of his friends, on the phone, he was speaking to like his wife or his siblings or someone in his family, like a few weeks later, and he spoke about that video. All right, he spoke about that video, and what ended up happening was, this is interesting. You see all those other people in the tent, they disappeared, okay? Their ranks they literally got taken off. So where they were, their names removed, and they were gone, but he stayed. He's basically moved to another part of the army. So if you, when he tells a story, basically what ended up happening was, that was a test. In the army, they were testing to see how much you open your mouth, right? So they show a video. Now, here's the thing. Is that instructor in on it? That instructor doesn't know. That instructor, friends, could be told from someone higher up. They go, hey, this is a fake Hollywood movie. We're just seeing, because we want to hire people for like the black squad. We just want to hire people for another, a deeper part, private stuff. We need to have a specific type of soldier, right? We can't have people who talk, right? So we're just filtering. And that's what ends up happening. So this guy, he never ended up finding out what's up. He said he never heard of those people ever again. Their name's gone, pretty much wiped. Okay, so he's telling this story, and here's the thing, right? When he spoke to his phone, so you're probably wondering, how did they know to cut him out? Well, he just spoke to his family about it. He spoke to his family about it on the phone a few weeks later. He was using the army telephone. So this is the crazy part. They had operators who were obviously listening to his phone calls to see, hey, if he talks about anything like, weird and stuff, let us know. So obviously the operator, probably just some chick, and the operator like, hey, obviously that's what the goal for. They have to spy on their own army soldiers, right? They're checking all the phones, and they listen to his phone calls, and they're like, okay, he spoke about that event. All right, well, he's not in the program because he opened his mouth straight away. But the other guys didn't. Okay? Fascinating, yeah? Also makes you wonder about this type of secrecy stuff. See, they're actively filtering for people to do stuff. By the way, he also mentions, because I'm remembering this story vaguely, right? He mentions that that instructor came back to him, I think later on, and just said, hey, soldier, remember that thing we watched the other day? It was just like a CGI movie. Don't worry about it. Basically said, it was just a fake Hollywood movie thing, right? And that's it. Never spoke about it ever again. So these are the type of things that's happening, friends. So you hear this stuff and like, wait a minute, something's going on here, right? Then I'm going to come give you stuff. See, by the way, if you open your mouth, you get disappeared, bro. You literally get disappeared. Now, this guy, they couldn't disappear this guy because they're filtering. They're showing this like, hey, can we do stuff to do that? They're not going to sit you down in a room and go, hey, this is how the world works. Your soul's moving around. They're not telling them stuff like that. They're throwing these things over time to do this, right? And it's no surprise, right? Let's continue for these things. Let's continue with this. It's fascinating.
House has sloped roofs. And they're there every day. So and then you step in further, and it's now come out that they identified the person they're claiming as the sniper 3 hours before that he was on, because he's walking around with a rangefinder, right? I mean, this was not some genius assassin. This is a guy walking around. I wonder if this shot from here would work. I wonder if a shot from here would work. Almost, by the way, like the profile of a patsy, right? In other words, he was so over the top in everybody seeing what he was doing. So much so that randos were screaming, this guy's on the roof with a gun minutes before he even fired a shot.
Yeah. They got video of him crawling across the darn roof.
Exactly. They got video of him right outside the building acting weird. They got with the rangefinder. So we know that he was on Secret Service's radar screen. He's acting so over the top in being a parent. And supposedly was playing a game that's about, can Secret Service adequately protect the president, and the president's a Trump president. And he made comments on those games days before the event about how he was going to really win the game in a surprising way. So he's behaving like someone who's almost meant to be a patsy, more so than an actual guy. In fact, the actual assassin, he had tried to join. You got a 20-year-old kid with no professional experience who tried to join his low-level high school shooting team and failed because he literally couldn't hit the right side of a barn. And he's the one who is supposedly snuck past Secret Service, snuck by the local police, snuck past everybody observing, and got off 5 or 6 shots right on the president.
In the primo location, too.
Completely, just 100 yards or so away. Then you have, so we know that he was on everybody's attention now, and they did nothing about it. That they also, inside that building, there were Secret Service agents.
Right.
It's one of why weren't they doing anything when they were notified? Because we now know that local police notified them 10 minutes before, saying there's a guy with a gun on the roof, They all got that notice. Nobody's doing anything. And here it's like, it's one thing to say, well, maybe they're worried about pulling the trigger because maybe there was some other explanation. I don't buy that. If you know Secret Service protocol, it's not likely. But the thing they can't explain is, why was Trump sent up on the stage after they were alerted there's a man with a gun on the roof 100 yards away?
Why didn't they take him down immediately?
Correct. Well, I mean, they even sent him up after they got that notice. They get the notice and like, hey, Don, time to go up on stage. So the probability.
I mean, come on. Hey, there's a guy with a gun over there. Okay, time for you to go up. See, these friends, that you get to see this, the type of things we're dealing with here. Randomness, maybe some randomness, maybe some warning shots. Maybe this guy's trained. Friends, we've got to remind you, many people don't know this. In literally 1954, in the 60s, okay, many years ago, the KIA, the Coconut Intelligence Agency, right, Unhinged were spiking people with mind-altering drugs. They were trying to figure out how they can make a truth serum. They were figuring out how they can make people assassins, train them to be killers, train them to do stuff for them. They were trying that. No, here's the thing, right? In the media reports now, you read about it, they go, oh, they were experimenting with it. No, they figured it out, dude. They figured it. There are murders that have done that, where literally the guys end up writing stuff. Yeah, me with Kia agents and that. There's one guy literally in his, but here's the thing, when they start writing about this stuff, they get suicided very fast after that point. It's almost like they get stalked. They get stalked because obviously you got to watch them. You got to watch them. Hey, we're trading this guy to do something. If he says something about us, you got to take him out. You got to do something else. So the rabbit hole, friends, the rabbit hole. Let's continue.
Of incompetence as the most likely explanation, just when you go through step by step by step by step, diminishes at each step. And then we have now Chris Martinson's doing the sound alert, and what people at the scene said. They said they heard shots from multiple locations. Now, sometimes that can be tricky because you get echoes and all the rest. But Chris Martinson has been breaking, and some other sound experts have been breaking down the sound. And they're saying there's multiple shooters. There's at least 2, maybe 3. There might have been one on the water tower, and there might have been someone in that building. That the reason why they weren't taking out the assassin, supposed assassin, is someone might have been shooting from that building. So it would have been difficult to know what was going on. And in terms of how many shots and who was shooting from it. You've got, as Trump said last night, he said there were bullets still blazing everywhere, going over people. That's more like 8, 12 shots than just the 2 or 3. That guy should have had the time to get off at all under their own timeline. And so
I want to throw this out to you as well. Once again, once you go through these, people will always say, man, but you still got to hire a guy. That's what the people think. They'll think, okay, is there a guy on the payroll who got given a gun who's trained, hey, you're going to kill the new former president. You have to put the bullet through Donald Trump's head. No, it doesn't work like that, friends. So, friends, you got to remember, it is now 60 years since they first started doing the experiments on the mind-altering drugs. By the way, MKUltra, they only... Friends, this is the worst part, okay? Funniest. Of all the documents collected, it was only 1% of what was really happening. So they deleted pretty much 99% of the of all the evidence of all their experiment results. They only let the public know, oh, it was just LSD. It was just the battery acid stuff. They only left that now. So clearly, there's all these other things going on. All right, very, very obvious when it comes to that. All right. And to add to this, wiping memories. This is another thing, friends. This is where it gets more difficult to go this, because that's why I'm telling you, friends, you have the money printer, you have non-human intelligence, alien stuff. So the next part is, this is where it starts, like it goes full on speculation. But we know for a fact there are people, they've had abductions, right? So aliens have like visited them, but you don't know, friends, is it like a dream state? What's actually happening? But there's been couples, okay? So there has been some famous stories where couples, not just one couple, okay, multiple scenarios like this, where there'd be like someone and their mum, or a husband and a wife, where they'll both go through the experience, but only one of them remembers. One of them can vaguely remember. The other person's memory got fully wiped, and their one is like wiped 90%, but still just enough to remember some stuff. They still just have enough. So we know it's possible they do wipe memory things. We just don't know how they're actually able to do it. Would it be a stretch of imagination to think that the Kia Coconut Intelligence Agency hasn't figured out, hey, how can we wipe people's stuff? How can we give them stuff? But just to let you know as well, right? We definitely know this. This is like in the science now. When people take Xanax, so one of the benzos, when it affects your GABA, you stop short-term memory for 4 hours. And that's like a very, very common, an anti-anxiety drug. Okay, so that's Xanax. Everyone jokes about it and stuff. So that stops your memories from forming for 4 hours. Well, you never know, man. What if before these guys go and do this stuff, they are told to take a certain amount of things, and they're not storing memories for a certain amount of hours? What if that's very, very possible? They've probably tried stuff like that. Probably, you had 60 years to do experiments. By the way, they've been doing them still. They would have tried on everything. Like, okay, before you take the shot, drink this thing. You got to drink this, right? You got to take these. You don't remember. They didn't know what the hell was taking. Maybe they just inject them. They literally could just inject them, right? Maybe they found the way. Hey, can we have someone not store memories for like 12 hours or 24 hours? Can we do that? You have no idea what you're doing. You have literally no idea what you're doing, friends. So I know a lot of people who've gone through those experiences. People have done murders, by the way. There is a case, a lady, I think she ran over her ex-boyfriend. I think she killed him. I'm not joking. She was on like on a, basically she had an episode on that. So she was just munching the Xannies. No recollection whatsoever. Okay, so many people have gone through this, yeah, and it's amazing. Well, I guess if you wake up from it, you don't even know what's happening. You're like, hey, how'd I get here? You got to be shown photos. Okay, what if you're just shown, hey, you were just here the other day? Don't know what happened. You can't prove anything, right? So I'm just showing you a lot of these things are possible. And look, yeah, if you're just some kid in the garage talking with your friends, all right, nothing's possible. But if you are a number one leading country and you have trillions of dollars on the line and it's like coming down to world domination and ultimate power and control, okay, the stakes are a lot higher, like infinitely higher. They're going to do everything in their power to make sure they get this thing 100% right. You remember even back from the army story I told you, man, they do the filtering. That flipped me out. They'll go in, they won't tell you what's happening. Hey, sit there, watch this. If they end up squealing, they track them. Okay, this guy squealed, throw him out. These guys didn't squeal. Okay, move them on to the next thing. Okay, so that's how they like slowly get them closer and closer to the program. All right, so that's how you can see this type of stuff is going, friends. Now, let's continue, right? Let's continue together.
So you look at also then they look at the trajectory of the shots.
Okay, so this is exactly what I was going to touch on. Is that a real photo? And for the people that might not have seen it, it's the one where you see the bullet like past Trump, and you can see kind of like the stream that through the air, through the bullet piercing the air, like almost like a jet. And if you
now, friends, the bullet he's talking about is this one. See, this is the bullet here. Now, he's going to go and explain to you that the same photographer who took this bullet coincidentally took this same photo of George Bush getting whispered with this shot, right? But this bullet, friends, I thought it was just, random fluke. No. The photographer had it set to 800 frames per second. And people were wondering, why is a photographer zooming in on Trump's head at 800 frames per second? It's such a unique, random thing to do. And you're pretty much going to find out like, hey, it's very possible, friends, that this is obviously, I've reported on this before, the Kia, the Coconut Intelligence Agency, when they got discovered from MKUltra in the 60s and 70s, okay, that was back then. They had 400 journalists on their payroll, secretly. 400 people, friends, all around America who were on their payroll. Didn't tell anybody, not allowed to tell anyone. They were always getting tipped off and stuff here and there. They were reporting back. That's back then, man. Back then. Even YouTube people, of course, there's people in the inside. Everyone's in the part of it. So it really is a deep state. See that? All the tentacles. Let's continue. He's going to explain.
If that was real, couldn't an expert analyze the angle of that stream that was created by the trajectory of the bullet to determine if that was coming at a level or an angle that was level to Trump or a level that was elevated?
And initial people looking at it without getting in that, they don't yet have the full expert analysis, was that trajectory couldn't have come from that roof.
Yeah, it looked flat.
Yes, exactly.
Based on the photo I saw.
That's correct. Now, that itself isn't interesting. So why did CNN, of all rallies, when they've been skipping Trump rallies routinely, why were they covering it live? And why did that reporter, the photographer, my understanding is that photo was taken by a New York Times photographer who had his camera speed at like 800, whatever it was, which is very rare and very unusual. He, by the way, apparently is the same photographer who captured the person whispering into George W. Bush's ear about the towers being attacked on 9/11.
So that one.
So this guy has a magical way of showing up in interesting times. and there's people that are curious whether somebody was tipped off that something big might happen today. You should be here, without necessarily tipping everything off. So, and that you could see how the deep state would want Trump killed in a public way, because the message was, don't ever mess with us. If you decide to challenge us at any level, we'll not only bankrupt you and indict you, we'll flat out murder you. I mean, that's what they did to President John Kennedy, Robert Francis Kennedy Sr., Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. All of those assassinations had at some level government complicity and conspiracy. The only question, or to me, and that's lasting in the debate, is what's the scale and scope of it. I think the same is true of what happened to Trump, and I think Trump knows it, by the way. And I think that's why you've seen a different tone from him of late. Like last night's speech, kind of thankful to be alive. But I think the other aspect is you're going to see him be much more aggressive at dealing with some of these things than he would have otherwise been. I think that reach out to Robert Kennedy was supposed to signal that. The inclusion of J.D. Vance as VP was intended to signal that, and that he knows the deep state tried and the deep state missed. And that in ways that it's almost like the bankruptcy cases, the cases trying to make him bankrupt, the cases trying to put him in prison, didn't really shake him up very much.
As you can see, friends, there's a lot of things that's going through. It's political battles. And I think he said it very, very eloquently. It's like, okay, we know there's involvement. It's just how much were you involved? You never ever get to the bottom of this. They control the media, man. They control the news source. And then in evidence that comes out, friends, it's literally all the tentacles are there. That's why I tell you, ultimately, all roads lead to crypto. Because, hey, the only way you guys have all this power is you're all, friends, every government worker, they're getting paid by the money printer. They literally print money and they pay them. But what's getting paid? What's actually paying them? It's all the people working in the network of America and the world. We are slaves to the debt system. So if you are keeping a bid on the currency, so you're keeping a bid there, you're keeping a bid for it because you're working and you're saving it, you're holding the bag. It's like a shit coin, but then they are taking out of your bag, they're taking out of the bid, and they're going and paying who they want. Very anti-American, very anti-patriot stuff. So that's pretty much how fiat system works, but you can't do that in Bitcoin. No one can dilute your purchasing power in Bitcoin. No one can come and dilute them. They can't go do this stuff like this, right? And by the way, it's very counterproductive to do it, because if you screw up, you can't just go mint these things again. You see? So it's kind of like anything that's inflationary, friends. Yes, you get this stuff, but if the inflation schedule is regulated and it's honest players that you can see publicly, it's very hard to cheat. Okay, let's go.
History of American presidents being assassinated. And then, because that's going to be the pushback, Robert, it's going to be, well, if this was the deep state trying to do this, why on earth would they get some kid that can't hit the broadside of a barn, that's 20 years old, that's most like that had an inadequate weapon? I don't know that's the case, but I've heard some people say that. Why wouldn't they have a guy there that can really get the job done? And then by the way, what do you think the motivation would be for the kid?
Yes,
he's done. Like, what's in it for him? So
there's already inconsistent stories about the kid. We'll start with sort of the profile of a patsy, and that I always say every great crime needs a great patsy, particularly a political crime. You need a convenient narrative script designed. You need somebody that the event can be blamed on that won't implicate powerful actors, institutional actors, governmental actors, and and preferably they die so they can never talk. Lee Harvey Oswald famously shot before he could ever meaningfully talk. The Vegas shooter, we will never know whether it was even him, because he got shot before he could ever talk. And you have many, and in America, there's been this profile pattern of trying to blame a single crazy assassin for an event, or in some cases, maybe two or three, but it's always some couple of crazy people are involved, whether it's Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, Saran. He's a crazy guy. Went and somehow snuck into his security and shot and killed him. They usually have mental illness issues of some sort.
Legitimate.
Legitimate mental health issues.
Okay.
And there's already information. This kid's parents apparently were both mental health counselors, which is a little weird to begin with. You've got all the Manchurian Candidate. People can go back and watch them, either the Manchurian Candidate films, the Parallax View, which Warren Beatty starred in, which hinted at this kind of thing in the early 60s or early 70s. because people are wondering, how does some crazy guy keep getting in and assassinating prominent critics of the military-industrial complex? It seems, why don't the crazy people ever kill the military-industrial complex, right? Why is it none of those? Why is it none of those guys? Well, why is it the Federal Reserve? Nobody's ever thought to try to assassinate anyone in the Federal Reserve. It's just the critics of the Federal Reserve. Well, I'm sure that's a coincidence. But they need somebody who's a little bit crazy, who's a loner, doesn't have a lot of friends, doesn't have a lot of family, doesn't have a lot of people that are going to be able to competently counter the narrative and say, hold on a second, this doesn't make any sense. And so that he fits that pattern. But he's often, you're right, these guys are rarely people you would trust to pull something like this off. And I was intrigued by Trump talking last night, saying that when he was on the ground, there were still bullets coming. So what it means is somebody who was very, very good kept shooting. But for the miraculous actions of Trump, he would be dead. And that would suggest that did not come from that kid. But the kid fits his social media was non-existent, which is very rare.
That's another thing that I just wrote down. They can't find anything on him. Like anything, right. Like really, you can't find his cell phone record that would indicate that he maybe texted one of his buddies about this. I mean, every single time that you get some crazy gun person, they have a manifesto, they have all this stuff. I mean, again, if he's not leaving any trail, what the hell is his motivation? Because to me, that he knows he's going to die. So that would be the only motivation, was just to make yourself look like a hero. You're a nobody, but this is how you can be a somebody.
Exactly. And that's usually the profile of your mass school shooters and the like.
Right.
And now, take a guess what they are going to blame on him in a certain way. Like if you're the deep state, what's sort of an enemy, institutional enemy, if you will. Guess what accounts?
Gun control or something?
Crypto. That he has crypto accounts. That so that somehow crypto is part of the reason for the assassination attempt on Donald Trump.
Is this the narrative that's coming out? I haven't heard of this.
Yes, that the only thing they've found so far, they couldn't get through his secure communications on his phone, couldn't get to even into aspects of his phone or
But you know that, how can you not? Are you kidding me? How can the Secret Service, the CIA, the NSA, I don't know who the hell's in charge of that, but how can you not? And again, the kid's 20 years old. It's not like he's Jason Bourne, for heaven's sakes. How do you not get into his phone?
Exactly. And the kid is this little footprint, but according to the new report, he had 3 secured crypto accounts that around the world. And so, I mean, the goal is this is what happens.
Say, friends, is you get to see crypto. What? Crypto? It's meant to be public, transparent. Yeah, man. It goes deep. They try to pin this stuff on him. It would be very interesting, right, if we ran our own experiment where, say, the pulse chain, all of us with our microphones, we're like, hey, let's go make a narrative. Let's see if everyone listens to us. Let's just go try it. It would be fascinating, wouldn't it, friends, if we could do an experiment where we're like, hey, let's start a rumor that Richard Hart's coming back. You know what I mean? And he spoke to someone. He DM'd someone, okay? Let's go and just make fake screenshots. Yeah, we'll be live soon. That's Richard Hart let that message out. And then we all propagate it. See? We would be playing the role of deep state. See, someone does it in the background. And like, hey, go do this. Bang, bang, bang. And just it spreads out every day. Richard Hart's going to come back. And then we'll just see how much everyone believes it. And then if we got to start to do that stuff, we're like, oh, wait a minute. Look how easy it was. They'd definitely do it over there. Like, it took 2 seconds, right? That's us. Imagine everybody who doesn't even think about, like, well, it's crypto. Everyone's a bit like, hey, I want to see more proof. I want to hear it from himself. See, so you put all the pieces of the puzzle together, friends. It's starting to make sense, right? And yeah, what do we do? Well, look, Donald Trump's policies, right? Pulling the troops out, anti-CBDC, anti-bug eater, anti-all these. We don't know how long it can go unhinged for, right? There's too many toes you basically stepped on. And look, we have heard as well, look, there are some stories. Obviously, there's stories, speculation. There's government. It's not just stories. Oh, one guy said something. There's deathbed confessions. There's journal entries. I want you to know, this thing goes deep. There are people who, after their father or grandfather passes away, they'll go to the attic and they'll find out, oh my gosh, this guy was working for the US government and he's told us he was a teacher his whole life. He wasn't a teacher, or he told us he had a low-level ranking job. but actually he was part of this deep underground stuff. And then like he was a research scientist, and he has these like private letters about things, and they would find stuff referencing UFO things. They would find stuff about, oh yeah, some guy told me today in the elevator that, like, you know, he was moving the bodies and stuff. They actually write, this is like in Annex, not just one, man, there's lots of these things going around. But then it's kind of like, oh, see, it's always like, yes, one guy wrote something. Once you start to stack all of them, it's just like stacking a competitive edge in crypto. One thing by itself, not good enough. Just like, okay, buying a coin on chain, not good enough. Start stacking the edges, layering them, bang, 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 one after each other. You're getting somewhere, okay? So yes, deep state's in control, friends. And ultimately, I'm very proud of that one video I made where I basically explained the truth about it. And it's this video right here, friends, 57 minutes. The truth about Donald Trump, the deep state, and the planned assassination. Public media. It's this video out here. So all of these going on here. This pretty much, I'm very proud of this video because I'm like, wow, man, I could not believe I actually dished all of that out. Like one after the other, I go through my big tweet where I just explain a lot of things. And yes, this is why, once again, it all leads, everything is pointing that direction. It's pointing like, why would you go, we'll do this? Oh, humans are greedy. No, but humans are greedy and powerful, and there's all this Roman Empire stuff here and there, but why this? Why like that? Why is it just that? And then you go down, it's always pointing in one direction. It goes, well, human population control. But if you stop there, see, friends, if people stop at the human population control and they don't know anything else, they go, oh, you're all evil. You're all evil. Yeah, could be. What about the thought of we need to control the population because weapons that are going to be introduced or technology that's going to be introduced in the next 1, 2, 3, 400 years, right, which we have right now, what if they're too powerful? What if we can blow each other up to smithereens? We have to like advance and remove these barbaric ways, right? But it's not really by almost our choice. It's happening whether we like it or not. But once again, friends, how do you prove? It's literally like, maybe a child doesn't want to go to sleep at 8 o'clock every night, but the parent says, this is good for you. And in that moment, maybe the child, they're really, really, really angry. They're like, I want to watch this movie. Just let me stay up. You're like, no, this is good for you. Maybe we're the zoo animals and the zookeeper is telling us, well, this is good for you, this human population stuff, so you will comply. We don't know, friends. I'm just sharing the other perspective of these, okay? So, yeah, you watch Alex Jones and all these. I'm letting you know, once again, I've got to repeat, the guy's a genius. He knows everything I'm talking about. He knows all this. He literally knows all of it. That's why when I watch him, there's a lot of entertainment factor where he's like, we got to kill him. The deep state, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you, deep state. It's funny. I'm thinking to myself, he knows, man. He knows. Like, there's, you take a few of them out, the Hydra head just grows back later on. Yeah, but maybe it's worth fighting for. So, once again, friends, all roads lead to crypto. This is a fascinating interview. Okay, I really advise that you go through more of it if you want. But you get to see, right? It all lays up. So shout out to Robbie Barnes for actually going through this. Very, very eloquently put in a lot of these. And yeah, man, look, it's helping you, friends, just know that, okay, we're in a better system. Crypto is a better system, okay? Now, why is it better? Transparent. That's it. It's transparent. You don't do stuff, certain stuff, if everybody's watching you. You don't. Could be, it's every range of the spectrum. Okay, you behave better. You take on an aura. Everybody's watching me. Okay, now, roll that forward though, by the way. Imagine everybody could read everybody's thoughts. You think, oh, wow, that's going to be really bad. Well, that's going to happen one day, man. Well, it's literally going to happen one day. Everyone's going to be able to read everyone's thoughts. Maybe our thoughts get cleaner. Think about it. Maybe our thoughts get cleaner, friends. I know it sounds so scary. But what if the fact that you're being watched all the time, and if you have a evil thought, what if there is like an automatic police that comes in? They make movies on this, by the way. Remember Minority Report and all these? Oh, you have a thought that it's gonna snowball into a crime, and you're gonna kill a murder in 10 years. You're gonna commit a murder and kill somebody from this single thought. So you better stop that now. Can you erase that thought? So once we're in that realm of technology, you can probably erase thoughts. But then you got to think, wait a minute, are we even human at that point? So a thought comes in, it's the wrong thought, and then everyone's watching you, everyone being the government and the state and everything. But then, friends, you got to imagine this, right? It sounds like, oh, we're all in our own little prison cells. Yeah, but once again, if you see all humans as one interconnecting, basically like spider web of we're just like one global network. We're one human consciousness. If you see all of us like that, then we're all one. And so we all advance as one. You see these friends, these are, what I'm talking about right now is not new. It's deep philosophical things. A lot of people speak about this, all the science fiction rise. The trend is going that way. Okay, the trend is going that way. But we're not there yet. Today, everybody's still in the existing system. And the system's sinking. It's the fiat system. For now, you can see this is coming. And friends, this is what you have to guide you as your North Star. This is a sixth sense, a curiosity that it keeps you 1% more sharp than the average pleb out there who's going to come buy the top of the crypto cycle. Is it? All right. And then sell the bottom. All right. So the person who switched on, they'll buy the top of that crypto cycle, but then they're going to hold for the cycle after that. The pleb is going to sell and then reset their position in time. That's what happens. You click sell because you've clicked sell to go back to the old system, but you've lost purchasing power of the old system, which is sinking. It's kind of like Titanic sinking. You get on the life raft, you go and then do a loop, and then you go back onto the other side of the ship, and then you realize, oh crap, it's still sinking, but I've lost the life raft. Now I have to go back across the ship again and find another life raft. You know what I mean? Like you wasted a lot of time, a lot of stress. So it's literally the exact same thing. If you stay in this system, yeah, it's not the best, it's not perfect, but hell, it's way, way, way better, infinitely better than the existing system right now. Okay. So I hope I've opened your mind with that, friends. That's why ultimately we will never get all these answers, and it could be by design. We're not meant to have all these answers. Can we even handle all the answers? Yeah. The only answer you need to know is this. When tough times come, when uncertainty times come, when economic downturn times come, when a murder needs to be committed, when an assassination needs to be planned, when a cyber attack needs to happen, when somebody needs to get paid off, when anything in this world needs to happen, there is the money printer somewhere in that story. There is always a money printer, and the money printer only goes one way, friends. It's either on or pause. That's it. It's either print, pause it. Okay, go back to printing. That's it. There is no off button for the money printer. There isn't. All right. So you just think, hey, for the past infinite amount of years, we've been able to have this money printer concept out here in the fiat system. They've always pressed the print button. Well, do you have any thoughts, any evidence that they're not going to do it this time? No, you don't. Every single time. Well, there you go, friends. That is your belief. That's our core values here. We're like, hey, in crypto, I know it pumped to the moon. You have not been able to stop the money printer for any part of history, for any person. It is too tempting. Interestingly enough, they turn on the money printer to pay journalists and media articles and media people to tell us not to disrupt the money printer. Isn't that amazing? And they do this. This is not even a figure of speech. The money printer pays for the universities, for a lot of the public education people, and they tell everybody, oh, this debt fiat system, that's so good, man. Stay in the rat race. Stay in the rat race. Don't ever leave. Luckily, though, we've got pioneers, friends. People with peanut brains, people with helicopter hats, people like you and me who are out here saying, guess what? You know what? We're going to have to do the Christopher Columbus route, right? The discovery part, not the part that he did to the American Indians. Okay, so the discovery part, we're going to have to do that. We're just leaving. That's it. This current land that we're on, it's poop. The trees are growing poop. Everybody's playing in poop. It's not cool. Okay, that is the traditional fiat system. We're going to the island. We're going to swim across to the island. Maybe we get eaten by sharks. Maybe we make it all the way there. Everybody's playing the hula hoop. You've got the coconut bra babes. Everybody's drinking and partying. Yeah, that's where we are right now. And you just got to think from the perspective of the millions of people still stuck. It's actually billions of people still stuck in the debt fiat system. Do you think when they see us and the price is going up again, do you think they're going to go, probably going to go down? They never say that, dude. They go, it's going to keep going up forever. Let me get in. That's how we win. Make sure you like, subscribe, belly button, or catch you in the next one.